Hello everyone, William Mean here. Glad you could drop by. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe. It's free, it don't cost you nothing. And don't be afraid to use your First Amendment rights. Leave a little comment down below. I'm going to play something here because this is something that I've been complaining about for the longest time. And I'm not the only one. Many people who own firearms also do the same complaining as I do. But it just seems like it falls on deaf ears. Listen to this for a minute.
I thank the chairman and move to strike the last word.
Let's recommend.
23 days, that is apparently how long it takes for my Republican colleagues to move on from the tragedy of the shooting in Nashville, during which 3 9-year-old children and 3 adults were slaughtered in their school. We were supposed to hold this markup the very next day, but Republicans pulled it down at the last moment, likely knowing how callous it would seem if they decided to proceed with the markup as planned, or maybe thinking that we would forget what took place in Nashville, the country would forget, but we haven't forgotten. The parents and loved ones of those victims haven't forgotten. Evelyn Deekhouse and William Kinney and Haley Scruggs were children. We haven't forgotten them. I've heard several arguments by my colleagues about essentially why we should make it easier to kill children, why we should refuse to take any step to make it more difficult to kill children in a mass shooting like we've seen time after time after time. And let me just see if I can articulate some of those arguments. One is, you don't understand guns. You don't understand guns. Well, I'll tell you this. We understand biology. We understand what a high-capacity round does to a child's body. We understand what multiple rounds of an assault weapon projectile can do to tear flesh from the bone. Isn't that enough understanding? What we don't understand is your blind allegiance to the NRA. What we don't understand is why even the majority of NRA members who support assault weapon bans, why you don't support them. It's not even about the members of the NRA, of course. It's, I guess, about their organizational support or who knows what. We don't understand that blind allegiance to the NRA. Another argument we hear from our colleagues on the other side of the aisle is because the law won't stop all gun violence, it's just not worth doing. If we can't save all lives, it's not worth saving a single life. Well, I suppose that logic works until that single life is your own, or maybe it's your child. But why is it so hard to step into the shoes of someone who's lost a loved one from gun violence? Don't you think we would feel differently if that had happened to one of our family? And finally, we hear the argument that nothing really works. No gun safety laws really work. Nothing works. We're powerless. And so we don't have to do anything. But of course, when you look at other countries that have enacted laws, they have made their people more safe. There's a reason why the United States is alone in the world with the magnitude of gun violence.
It's a lie.
There are, in fact, things we can do that provably make our country more safe and better protect the lives of our children.
See, that's a lie right there, because that doesn't actually happen. And some of these countries have high violence right now because a lot of these countries have been stripped their abilities of being able to defend themselves and their homes. Then you look at Ukraine, and then you look at other countries like Mexico, which we'll get into that too. Take a look at Canada's high crime rate. Take a look at Venezuela. Take a look at some of Europe, the high knifing attacks. They don't mention this stuff here. But they do mention the finger pointing. Let's continue.
We just don't have the will. We just don't have the courage. And so we see gun tragedy after gun tragedy after gun tragedy. Our colleagues say these braces were created to help disabled veterans shoot more easily. That may have been the purpose behind the original brace, but those braces now are modified by manufacturers, transforming
That too is a lie too, because a lot of veterans who are unable to, to shoot normally rely on these braces. Now, there are also other civilians too also rely on those braces. I know a couple of friends of mine do. Let's continue.
A pistol into more concealable and deadly assault weapon. They're used to evade.
They consider the braces an assault weapon. It turns your firearm into an assault weapon, which is, again, not true.
Even the most porous of background systems, but even that is not enough. I've introduced legislation to strip away the gun industry's immunity from liability.
See, that's another thing too. This is what's going on here. When you talk about anti-gun and you talk about all this legislation that these Democrats push up front, and rival Republicans are involved too, because they sign any legislation that goes on with these Democrats. By the way, a lot of this stuff is what they've been doing. What you're hearing here is more publicity than anything else. In actuality, all they're doing is trying to screw everybody, whether you own a firearm or not. But when you want to sue your own manufacturers out of business, what about jobs? They don't care about jobs.
Immunity that no other industry enjoys. That immunity was extended not just to the industry, but to the NRA itself.
See, that's not true neither.
But
the NRA
that's too much for my colleagues who think that no.
The NRA does not get that neither. They don't get no immunity out of this. During the Fast and Furious, just jump off this a little bit. The Fast and Furious was reported by the NRA. Let's see. When he talks about his colleagues, let me tell you something. These Democrats all sell the same noise. They refuse to take that finger and point at themselves, because they are the biggest trouble we have here with this whole mess of this firearm issues. They're soft on crime. All they want to do is ban everything out. Now vote me in. When you can secure an arm with the best security in your federal, state, and government buildings, why can't you do that to the schools? I'm not the only one to complain about this. Your counties, your districts inside your states can only do what their taxes have available. That's it. Yes, cameras and locked doors are a step in the right direction, but they need federal help. But yet these people would rather go around and point fingers, send your money off to some foreign country that hates us. Let's continue.
The gun industry alone ought to enjoy the ability to act negligently without repercussion.
That's not true neither. See, here's the thing. You build something, and somebody uses it for unlawful purposes. Why should you be held responsible? They want to hold everybody responsible. Who builds the firearm, magazines, and ammunition. But suppose, like this man did in a Christmas parade, used the car as a weapon. Shouldn't we sue that manufacturer? You just let that guy out of jail too, recently, right? A drunk driver kills 3 or 4 people. He used the car as a weapon, didn't he not? Considered to be one. He got behind the wheel of it, didn't he? Or, let's just say road rage. That person in that car has now a weapon to take his vengeance out on anybody on that road, even to cause major accidents on a super highway. Why don't we sue the manufacturer of that car? Their arguments make no sense here. because they hate one industry. Let's continue.
I am so sick of seeing these constant tragedies, of seeing these grieving parents. I'm so fed up with the lack of courage here. When one of you accepts the necessity of a ban on assault weapons immediately within days, as our former colleague from near Buffalo was forced to resign or forced to say he wouldn't run for re-election because that was the end of his chances.
This sort of theatrics is exactly what it is. Theatrics. Blame everybody else for these horrible things, but do not take the steps to fix them. They rather just ban everything, and that's going to stop the problem. But they're not just the ARs they want to ban, not just the AKs or the ERs. It's everything. Ban you right into nothing, and then turn around and say, now we're a safe country. Are we? The threats we face around the world and inside our own country, you think these guys are going to do anything about it? No. They're the ones who caused this mess in the first place by leaving open borders. Yes, people have a right to come to this country legally. You go through the paper, you go through the process, you go through the medical, you go through the background checks for the FBI if you're no criminal record or anything else, or not wanted felon somewhere. And people pay a lot of money to do that. But when you allow a bunch of people just to run through their damn country, you don't know who the hell they are, they don't know if they're terrorists from another country, you don't know if they're drug dealers, you don't know who they are, and yet they talk about public safety. This is the sort of mess that makes things, and yet we constantly elect these people back in office. Let's continue.
We could do better this. We have to do better this. I'm sick of doing nothing. I'm sick of thoughts and prayers, and the slaughter continues.
The slaughter continues. What about the drug issue? More people have been dying from drug issues. Nothing. Doesn't say a word about it. More people have been dying through drugs. Hit and runs. Human trafficking. Children disappear. Home invasions. Yes, the schools are being attacked. But all they can do is point fingers. Instead of sitting down and say, let's think like a criminal. How does a criminal get in this place? What can we do to stop it? Common sense? Their idea is to sit there and play theatrics. Their idea is that we'll ban everything. This will save us all. These are the people who say slaughter are the ones causing the slaughter. This is what I mean. Pass this video on. There's another part I'm going to be dealing with soon. Keep your friends and family close, and do not be afraid to defend yourself. And this is part 1.